Hey guys, welcome in. I'm Sly from Virtue Gaming. I'm here with Zilla. Zilla, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm ready to see Virtue Gaming, new org, just get on the scene for the first time in the UJL Summer League.
Yeah, I'm excited too, man. I'm excited to see how Sincerity is going to be able to perform, and going to have a great matchup today against Ram Ranchers. If we want to walk through really quickly the players for each teams, for Virtue, going from top to bottom, our top laner is going to be Panda. In the jungle, we'll have Izzo. In the mid lane, we'll have Flopper Goblin. At ADC, we'll have Bluebird. And at support, we'll have Sincere Support. And for the Ram Ranchers, we're already caught into the picks and bans, by the way. So maybe I'll go through this after. But Sincerity goes ahead and bans Anivia, Tristana, and Shen, and then insta-locks the Nocturne in the first pick. And that's going to be met with the Ram Ranchers Ezreal Karma first and second pick, which is a great pick. I think the Ezreal ADC right now is top tier, and anytime you're able to pair that with a poke support like Karma, you're in business. Zilla, you see the bans here. We've got a Zed ban, which that's targeted at Goblin, a Misfortune ban, which I'm sure is targeted at Bluebird, and then a Seraphine ban. Do you have any thoughts on the pick bans so far with the Jinx getting locked in?
I honestly think with how strong Ezreal and Karma are right now, Karma is a little weaker with the Shrelia nerfs coming in, but I think Ram Ranchers have a really decent team comp going with right now with that Ezreal Karma first coming in, and then also the Ezreal ban, because Serpent's Fang on Ezreal, Zed, the Serpent's Fang on Zed is really strong and just creates zero shielding for when Karma, mostly shielding champ, one of the bigger aspects of her game, is negated. And I think those are pretty decent bans coming from Ram Ranchers.
Yeah, and the Xin Zhao gets locked in, the Victor gets locked in for the side of Sincerity. I think that Ram Ranchers have a very solid, competitive meta team, right? Because Ezreal's meta, Karma's meta, Xin Zhao's meta. And I think Xin Zhao is really enabled by Karma.
Yeah, 100%. Xin Zhao, he is one of the top junglers right now. Definitely on my book. But I also think the Nocturne from Sincerity is also one of the top junglers in the game right now. So I definitely think this is going to be two clash of the Titan junglers playing, going at it. But we also have to think though, this Nocturne could still go top lane, with how flex picks, and that's what we gotta be careful about if you're on the side of Ram Ranchers.
Yeah, I think Ram Ranchers know that. They're saving R5 for that top counter pick to see whether or not this top lane is going to be a Nocturne or another pick. And you're right, I think there's a little bit of dissynergy between the Jinx Victor, which are incredibly powerful backliners, with the Nocturne, who is going to be diving in. And there you see the Yone, so that makes it a Nocturne jungle, a Yone top lane, and we'll see who Ram Ranchers choose to pair with that. I mean, you do have this last support pick here, Thresh and Lulu ban for the side of Ram Ranchers, so we end up with the Nautilus, so pretty aggressive. Well, I spoke too soon. So the Alistar. I don't know about the Alistar with the poke. Wow, okay, so they lock in. So Virtue Gaming Sincerity are going to lock in the Alistar support into a Karma Ezreal. That's a pick. I think it's a little, you're very ambitious. Exposed to a lot of poke between the Ezreal and Karma. You don't have as easy of an engage as you might with the Nautilus and the amount of damage that I think that Nautilus provides. But you're also going to be able to peel the Xin Zhao, and that may be their rationale they have there. They want to play safe in lane. They're not going to really be able to get much done versus Ezreal Karma, and the Malphite lock in to go into the Yone.
That Malphite pick right there, I think, is a definite killer here, because you have Yone that usually goes Immortal Shield Bow, which I think is probably the best item on Yone, and then you have a tank here that can just take all that damage by just running Granduins and a Frostfire. He's gonna, I think, have to run maybe a Kraken, but we do have Jinx here that can just run that Kraken Slayer. Right.
Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, you know a lot more about top lane than I do. I can tell you right now. So what do you think about that matchup? Is that going to be a farm match up top? Do you think there's any way that you can be aggressive in the top lane on a Yone into Malphite?
So I think in the top lane, it's going to be, I think the Yone is going to want to play very safe, because Malphite, even though he's a melee champ, he still brings that range aspect because of his Qs. And then if you run Biscuits and Corrupting Pots, you still have that, you can still use your mana freely. You know, you can still run out of mana and then use your Corrupting Pots with Time of Tonic and just get back your full mana, all your mana that you just used up by poking out Yone. So I think it's going to be a very scary lane for Yone here. But if team fights, I think they have the same synergy on team fights. So Yone, he has an ult that can just group them all together and then knock them up and have a CC there. And then Malphite also has, you know, unstoppable.
Yeah, one of the strongest
CC.
ults in the game, sure,
100%.
for sure. And you're gonna see. I think the biggest part of this game is going to be whether or not Idol can get a lot done on this Xin Zhao pick in the early mid game. Right, you'll have a lot of pressure that you can apply to top lane on the Xin Zhao, and it'll be whether or not Idol is able to. Oh, it looks like we have something happened with pick ban there, but you know, Idol is going to be on the Xin Zhao in the jungle, and you see, you know, Nocturne has great dueling power, right?
100%.
Your single target fear allows you to be able to fight 1v1 against almost any jungler in the game. I don't know if Xin Zhao is one of those junglers. I think Zen is a very strong duelist, depending on what runes he takes on Idol, and we'll wait to see what those end up being. But I mean, some of the options include Conqueror or Hail of Blades. And Hail of Blades enables you to get your knockup faster.
Yeah.
Conqueror is going to be a better dueling rune. And I'm not sure what... most Nocturnes will take lethal tempo. You can take Conqueror, in my opinion, as well on Nocturne. It just kind of depends on what you want to do. But ultimately, it'll be as to whether or not I think Goblin is able to make movements on Harry Potter in the mid lane. Harry Potter playing the Syndra. Who's going to end up having priority. I think Syndra should have priority early in that lane up until Victor ends up getting his upgraded E. And I do think that it'll have to be some sort of passive top lane unless they are wanting to really play through top side of the map, because I don't see how Victor has prio. I don't see how Nocturne's able to get into the river on the top side to be able to control that top side versus the Xin Zhao. And maybe they win the 2v2, but it's only if they're able to be fighting together, and I don't know if they'll be able to do that very effectively. And in the bot lane, you end up with this Ezreal Karma, which should be permanently shoved in. I don't see how Ezreal Karma isn't permanently shoving in a Jinx Alistar. So ultimately, I think that we'll have to see who ends up getting pushed in, and whether Izzo on this Nocturne pick is going to be able to apply pressure to all of these Ram Ranchers winning lanes. Because ultimately, once Nocturne hits 6, I don't think it's safe for most of these lanes to play super aggressive on the side of Ram Ranchers. I mean, with Nocturne, you see a lot of Nocturnes just really taking over the map in the early mid game. Have you played against many Nocturnes in solo queue lately, Zilla?
Not really solo queue, but you know, I play competitively too. I play for a gold team, you know, and our jungler, he goes Nocturne, and whenever that level 6 power spike comes in, it's just constant, yo, I'm looking bot lane, because we also, you know, I'm not gonna say much, but he constantly looks bot lane, because he constantly looks bot lane, and because, you know, you have mainly squishies in the bot lane, and if the enemy bot lane is pushed up, it should be a free kill right there, because Nocturne has his Q, his spell shield, and his fear, and then if you maybe have it with like a Alistar, it should be a free kill on Ezreal or Karma. So right. I think you can go ahead.
I think the biggest thing will be whether or not Alistar is able to get that engage, right? If you're able to mantra E, you're not going to be able to kill an Ezreal for sure, and your only target's going to be the Karma. Yeah. So, I don't know how much bot is going to be just getting, and maybe there's not a lot of dive potential there too with the Ezreal Karma. It may be that Sincere Support is just planning on roaming the map on Alistar and doing his best to helicopter impression throughout this game, and that could be the strategy. I couldn't tell you, but I can say I think it's going to be an interesting early game that's really going to be indicative of how the tempo of this game is going to go. Because they have, I mean, Sincerity has so much scaling on their team, right? They have, I mean, Yone scales excellently. Goblin on the Victor is going to scale excellently. Jinx is going to scale excellently. So even Alistar is going to scale really well. And although Nocturne, he may fall off, his ultimate is always scaling well because it's so unique in the ability to cut off vision in team fights. So I think that whenever team fights come around, it's going to be, can Harry Potter hit a big E? Can we get a Karma Mantra E into a Malphite R? Are we going to be able to prevent the amount of damage that gets onto Bluebird or Goblin in the backline after they get Malphited R'd? Or will Bluebird on this Jinx pick be able to avoid that damage either by flashing it or by using some sort of, is it Gale Force that gives you the dash? I think it is Gale Force. Maybe it ends up being that item, and that's not exactly ideal, I don't think, but it may be necessary. Yeah, in this matchup, particularly between the Syndra E and the Malphite ult, I think that definitely is at least going across Bluebird's mind as far as what he needs to do. Excuse me.
But I think, I agree with what you're talking about on the Ram Ranchers team comp, but I also think Sincerity has a really good team fight capability. If Victor hits that one lucky cage, and then Yone hits like a 4 or 5 man ult, and then Alistar's there too with his EQ combo, I think it's going to look very scary for Ram Ranchers if Sincerity can bring that synergy all together. And with Nocturne's blinding, it's I really think it's going to look very scary if they can have it all formed together, and it's going to look very scary for Ram Ranchers.
Yeah, and you even mentioned on one thing about the zone control with the Victor W. You can even lay that down after a nice ult from the Yone, from Panda's Yone. Throw that down as supplemental CC. Maybe even get a flash Q or a W Q on Sincerity's Alistar to keep them in place until that stun lands. And then you just have a big AoE for Victor ER. You have AoE for Rockets, Jinx Rockets. You have AoE for even Yone Q is AoE in theory. Nocturne Q is AoE in theory. There's a lot of AoE on this team and a decent wombo for sure. And that's one thing I think that if you want to point it out, I guess, there isn't that much wombo on the side of Rancher. Follow-up AoE to the wombo on Ram Ranchers, right? I mean, they definitely have the beautiful Malphite ult, the ability to go in with the Xin Zhao, but even with the Syndra E is nice, but the Syndra ultimate is a single target. Ezreal Q is single target, and maybe you have an Ezreal R, but for the most part, a lot of their damage ends up being single target. So we'll see if that ends up having any sort of an impact on the effectiveness of the Malphite Rs. And I think spacing and zoning and understanding map spacing and positioning is going to be really important on the side of Sincerity with the Malphite R. I just think that ultimately this fight comes down to, can Derpy Byzantine hit a big time ultimate, or can Harry Potter hit some sort of a stun that enables his team to follow up? And I don't think those are very hard things to do. I think that the difficulty on the side of Ram Ranchers for execution is much lower than it will be on the side of Virtue Gaming. But I'm excited to see whether Virtue is going to be able to execute on some, very high scaling comps, and whether they want to even fight over dragons, right? Because that's one thing we haven't really discussed yet, is the inability for this bot lane or even this mid lane to get early dragon control. And it sounds like we might be into game here. So I can hear the champions loading in, and there we are. Welcome to the Rift, and we'll see whether they open up with an aggressive or what kind of start. It looks like both teams opening for the 5 point.
The 5 point, And I mean, it's as you said with Xin Zhao, we see Idol coming in with actually the Hail of Blades. If he can dictate the game with the early game and the mid game, it's going to look very scary for Sincerity at this point. If he can just get a lead and run with it.
So I think that the Hail of Blades actually ends up making him weaker in terms of dueling, but stronger in terms of ganking. At least in my experience, the auto Q reset for the with the Hail of Blades makes it very quick to get the stun off. for Xin Zhao. However, I just don't think he'll deal as much damage in an extended fight. If Izzo is able to last long enough, or even W the stun, or like spell seal the stun, he may end up being able to win that, especially with the lethal tempo kicking in at that point and the fear. So that'll be interesting. It looks like we'll have both junglers starting off on the bot side of the map.
Yep, they might try to look for this top prio for both teams, going from bottom to top. You do see they did, blue team in the side of Sincerity did get a ward off by Raptors, so they did know that it was going to be a bot side start.
Izzo opting to skip frogs as well. That's interesting. It looks like he just wants to be towards top side of the map as quickly as possible. Maybe he thinks that frogs will slow him down. He wants to be able to get over to his blue and grump and onto that crab by 315. Panda making a little bit of a trade in the top lane.
Yep, and you see coming in this bot lane already, it's looking really bad with that poke from Karma. You see them already getting some health chunked down, and it's, as you said, bot is going to have a lot of prio for this game. They hit that level 2, and they're looking for something already, and already freezing Bluebird off like 3 minions, which could be detrimental, or freezing them off the wave. So I meant.
Sure, yeah, and the zoning potential is huge, right? For Warmonks and Aang doing a great job of landing some Q poke, each of them having poke on their Q and able to stack that wave and crash it and make a little bit of a 4-5 CS lead there in the bot lane.
Yep, and we also see in the top lane, Malphite going for a different build. I mean, I play in lower elo, and I play Malphite a little bit, but he opted for the Dorn
Xin
shield
top here. Oh no.
Yep, and I think this is gonna. Yep, Panda is in trouble right here. He does get the trade off Derpy. Derpy is taking the minion damage. Derpy flashing, trying to get the kill on Malphite right now, and he has the E-stack off. Nocturne's up here too. This might be a first blood for the side of Sincerity, and there's just a lot of summoners burnt there, but I think Sincerity won the trade there. I don't think they expected Yone to do that much damage early. Or even the Nocturne coming up here.
Barely not able to get that kill. And one thing we didn't touch on since we go into the mid lane really quickly, actually, Harry Potter was able to get a cheater recall off, and now comes back to lane with a... I can't even tell what that is. That a tier? Oh, it's a tier. So he got a reset into the tier. Very nice little cheater recall. But you're right, it was such a close fight. But I mean, I don't think Idol had any more than maybe 30 HP, maybe less.
I agree. If they had that first blood on Nocturne going to, not Nocturne, Xin Zhao going to either Yone or Nocturne, that first blood would have been big, especially for Yone, for Panda, because he could have just maybe even gotten a Berserker's Grieve first back. And obviously going in the bot lane, he lands that EQ combo. Nothing really comes out from it. I think it might have been a kill if Jinx did land her trappers.
Yeah, she got slowed and wasn't able to really get all up in there, unfortunately. Well, one thing to go back onto that top fight, Derpy, Byzantine, and Idol end up coming out of it very down in farm, right? Panda was able to crash a double stacked wave, ends up getting about a 2-wave CS lead in the bot lane, or excuse me, in the top lane, and Izzo was able to get a pretty decent CS lead as well, since he was able to do an extra camp and topside scuttle crab. So at least, even though they don't end up with the kill in the top lane, they're able to get some sort of an advantage for sure.
And as you said in the mid lane, like, we didn't really touch on it, but that cheater recall with the tier for a mana heavy usage champion like Syndra is going to be huge. That's going to be very detrimental for the Flopper Goblin.
And it just goes back to the whole idea of the matchup being disfavorable for Izzo, or excuse me, for Goblin in the mid lane up until he gets that. Wow, they are really Aang and Warmox need to do a better job of applying pressure to blue and Sincere.
And you're looking at mid lane, Xin Zhao looking for this kill right here. Goblin has to flash, and he tries to get the cage off, but that 1-2 punch from Syndra, as you said, their single target abilities but they do have that wombo combo with the airborne from Syndra and then the knockup on 3 stacks from Xin Zhao. Now you see in the top lane, Sincerity trying to get a trade-off here. Yone eating, and I think that's Malphite is dead. Going to Izzo. That's my thing as a top laner. Why I don't like the Doran Shield health pot start is because of the mana usage. You don't really get enough mana.
Did you see the tier that Malphite just built?
Yep, that is. I don't know what he is trying to build here, but I think it might be more of an on-hit Malphite build because you see him, his rune page. We didn't go over this, but he has Resolve. He has Grasp of Undying as his main, and I don't know. I think you played a few games, but you know most Malphites go Comet. And,
right. Yeah, I don't understand the. I mean, Grasp makes some sense, right? You're going to be trading with auto attacks, I guess. And Dragon gets picked up there by Ram Ranchers, as we definitely thought that they should have full Dragon control in this early game. But to get back to the tier, I don't think he'll complete the tier. I doubt he'll go full AP. I think that would be
a
very poor choice. But maybe he will. I don't know what Derpy Byzantine will end up wanting to do. But I think that the tier may be an interesting lane strategy that is going to set him back as far as tankiness goes.
And you see Yone going in on his E and his Q. Yone is a champ that's is very niche, kind of, because you don't really see him play. Because I play in the lower elo, and you don't really see him played a lot. But he can easily win trades with just Eing in, getting a few hits off, and then that extra damage going off. He just wins that trade because he just runs back, and you can't really do much about it.
I'm not sure if Goblin is actually looking to make a dive on top lane. Yeah, I think he's just trying to help Nocturne secure red buff here.
Yeah, I think they can also look for some vision control here. They do have Rift coming up, and they topside, which is surprising to me right now. Topside does have the pressure. They do have
oh my.
They do have the what do you call it? The priority. Yeah, thank you. The priority in the top lane right now, which is what I really didn't think was going to happen, because I thought Malphite was going to run, of course, Comet, and he could just easily keep poking out the Yone.
Yeah, and Derpy just now finishes the Ninja Tabbies, or plated steel caps as they've been changed to, but I think he'll end up needing to stack even more armor if he's going to want to be able to survive this top lane. But
I agree.
You're right. I think with the control of the map that Izzo's able to have this top side, there's no reason that they're not able to get a Herald, either use it to bust down mid or top and open up the game a little bit. And one thing I want to point out too, that we've been spending a lot of time in the bot lane. I don't think bot's really been that punished. I mean, at this point, Bluebird is even in CS, actually ahead in CS on A in the bot lane, despite being harassed all game long.
Yeah, and I think the main prediction that you guessed right was probably mid lane. I mean, this Syndra is just eating up on Victor right now, but I mean that's to be expected, of course, because Victor is a scaling champ. And we also didn't touch on this, but Nocturne is level 7 right now, and he could be anywhere on the map right now looking. You see him hovering mid. And he's top side now. He's hovering mid. They could honestly look here if Victor does get. Oh, and look, I guessed it. And you see the special going in, a flash from Nocturne, but he's just going to get chomped down by Idols, Xin Zhao, and I don't think they had enough vision in the bot lane to know if Xin Zhao is going to be there. And I'm honestly surprised too, because I didn't know Xin Zhao was going to do that much damage. And you see the flash coming in, and they just trade sums with Syndra Flash and Nocturne Flash.
Right, and it luckily for Idol, or for Goblin and Izzo's sake, really for Goblin and Bluebird's sake, the kill doesn't go over to Harry Potter, because ultimately Harry Potter is going to be the most scary. If he ends up getting fed and having the capacity to one-shot either of the backliners is going to be very threatening. But again, a great map movement, great map awareness of where he needed to be. Idol being exactly where he needs to be on the map when he needs to be there, and doesn't allow his mid laner to get eaten up by a very nice Nocturne ult that was maybe a little greedy. But I think that ultimately they're trying to punish a mid lane that's not going that poorly, right? They're down 2 waves, sure, but after having a pretty unfortunate gank, I think that the mid lane is going fine. I don't think that they really need to apply pressure there, and they should push their leads in the top lane, or even try and make some pressure happen in the bot lane after Sincere is able to get a reset in.
Yep, and we did say that the bot lane is going a little better for the side of Sincerity, but still we see the poke coming in from a Karma Ezreal bot lane. You see Alistar is down under half health, but I mean it is Alistar though, and he does have ult up, so I think if Izzo is looking for bot lane, this could be looking scary. And now you see Dragon coming up in I think a few seconds or maybe in a minute, and you see Malphite already down there. 15 seconds. Yeah. Yep. And you see them trying to get that pressure right now. I don't think Sincerity is gonna go for this. They are summoning it topside, and I think they're just gonna give this, as you said, they're not gonna have that pressure in the bot lane, and they're not gonna have that dragon pressure, you know. So I honestly think it's fine because they're gonna take some plates top lane and just. They're gonna start just, you know, hand feeding Panda some gold. And I mean, if Panda and Panda and Izzo, if their champs can just get ahead, I think it's gonna look really scary for the side of Ram Ranchers. And I see another hit coming in from Shelly here.
Another thing to notice too, they were down about 500 gold. Sincerity was down about 500 gold up until that Herald gets dropped. They take about a 1k gold lead off of that.
That's crazy.
Now they're down 2 dragons, right? So they're going to have to start competing for those. It looks like it's going to be an Infernal Soul, which I think is pretty scary on the side of for Ram Ranchers because. And
you see Warmong's walking up, but oh my god, Flopper still gets a 1-for-1 trade, and now the Nocturne ult coming in, and a great ult from Panda. I didn't expect Panda to roam down like that, but Izzo looking for that ult, and as you said, it's that Nocturne ult is so unique to the point where it's like a mini Shen ult, but just does a lot more damage, and it's looking good for the side of Sincerity getting a good trade. That they're looking for that roam on Victor, knowing that the pressure mid wasn't going to be there, and they just lose that trade. And you see Malphite ulting there, and that's to be expected. And I think they overstayed a little bit in mid lane. Izzo going to pop Stridebreaker, and I think they should be able to make it out there alive. That was a pretty good trade for how much resources were sent into the mid lane to kill Victor. And Victor's unscared. I think no, Victor died, but they only got like a 2-for-3 trade, and they got a few plates off mid lane.
Right. I think what ended up happening was just like I said, a little bit of an overstay in the mid lane, but obviously a great collapse there. Absolutely beautiful. Literally the Mona Lisa there of all the collapses that could have happened. I think it was a great job. Panda coming down, able to punish that excellent flash W by Warmong. So their play was definitely correct by the side of Ram Ranchers. Just a better play by Sincerity to end up being able to collapse on the mid dive there. But as you said, I think that they got a little greedy, overextending, not respecting Malphite damage while under tower, trying to do a lot of damage to the turret while the plates were still up, and maybe creating a little bit too much for plates. So overall, I think that sequence of events was favorable for Sincerity, even though Ram Ranchers are able to pick up some extra kills on the back end of it. Again, the lead has now ballooned up to about a 2.5k gold lead, which is good for Sincerity, as we thought that they were going to have the weaker early game. I think the only problem with that is that most of that gold's on Yone, and it's the top
and the Nocturne ult top lane, and that's just going to Panda right there, man. If he keeps getting that gold funneled into him, a Fed, I mean, I don't know, I think you've seen in your solo queue games, a Fed Yone is a scary sight to see. He can just E in and E out, killing maybe one or chunking their whole team.
I think that both Yone and Nocturne just need to build a pickaxe, because that's the best way to get through a rock anyways, right? And they 100%. Are just absolutely tunneling through the monolith in the top lane. I think that they're doing an excellent job up there, just punishing this derpy Byzantine's top lane pick here with the tier rush. I think that is a little strange.
I'm still scratching my head about that too.
But I don't see how it panned out, right? Because the idea of it was that give him a little more poke and sustain in that lane, and yet he still ends up out of lane phase down 60 CS.
Yeah, I understand what the thought process was of running a tier was. You know, he didn't run the corrupting pots, and that proved detrimental. He was down, he was losing, his mana consumption was very tragic. And now you see a collapse out on the bot lane, but TP coming in from Yone, they could actually look here for a 4v4 fight. Alistar getting chunked out, a big Yone ult coming in, and that's tragic though. Xin Zhao was just able to use his ult, and I think there's a little bit of miscommunication. It was a 5v4 there, and Nocturne did have his ult up, but he was still in the bot side. I think that was honestly, I still think that was a decent look for the side of Sincerity. You got a great Yone ult, and I think if they prep that a little better, because Victor Flopper Goblin had to TP on a Tribush ward, and he wasn't already in the fight.
Goblin, if he gets hit by the W by Xin Zhao, is certainly dead there as he goes up to try and defend that pink ward in the entrance bush at River, places another one down, and ultimately it looks like they're going to be able to get Panda back for this fight a little earlier than Aang and Warmox are going to be able to get here. So they may be able to root out this bot lane and have a little, or bot river to have a little control over it. Byzantine, doesn't look like his ultimate is going to be up for this fight. Harry Potter is able to get his. Obviously, Mantra is always available for Karma in these sorts of situations.
Oh, you see Panda going in right here. Nocturne ulting. He looked. They're just eating up here. I didn't know who Izzo looked ulted on, but they do get the jungler out the fight. That is a free dragon for the side of Sincerity.
Certainly, I don't know if I would call it free. It was very hard fought, right? Idol ends up going down. Sincere ends up dying as well. But a well-fought fight, I think, by both teams. Ooh,
oh my god! That honestly, I didn't. Oh my god! You saw.
I agree. I'm speechless. I did not expect for him to have that sort of range to be able to get to that. That was incredible.
You see how much
that is some porn-star level length right there.
One Yone W and his E proc just deleted that. That's insane. I didn't know Panda was up. He was that strong already. Only 18 minutes in.
And that's what 162 CS and 3 kills will do for you, I guess. It was like, I mean, that was quite an impressive play to know what his range was. So I think that, yeah, with that Herald ends up going down over for the Sincerity. They now have all tier 1 towers down. They have a tier 2 down in the top lane. A lot of map pressure and a lot of map control over for the side of Sincerity, including about a 5k gold lead, maybe 6k at this point.
This is so surprising from Sincerity, though. We talked about it in Champ Select. We knew they were going to get that dragon control the first 2, but just the pressure of the every lane. I mean, bot lane wasn't. We thought it was going to be a hard win, right? It was pretty even. It was a pretty even bot lane, and top lane. I thought Malphite was going to win that matchup, but you see, Panda is just eating up right now these kills. And mid lane, of course, was like probably the biggest, not the biggest surprise here, but Victor, of course, scaling champ. He's gonna be online later into the game, which is fine for the side of Sincerity. And you see, Izzo might get caught out here. Malphite did have ult up, but he was able to get out. The team was able to just
I guess Derpy just doesn't choose to pull the trigger there, not having a ton of vision on where everyone was. I'm not sure, but I'm with you. I think if Derpy pulls the trigger, that's a 1 fight. Maybe he can get control over Baron's side of the map there. A lot of great pinks coming down over there on the top side to control vision for the side of Ram Ranchers as they want to control their top quadrant, especially with that tier 2 being down on that side. Yone over on the bot side going to be splitting without teleport, and Derpy has teleport, so we'll see if Ram Ranchers can make any sort of an advantage given the TP disparity in the bot, well, between the top laners who are located in the bot lane.
And you see the side of Ram Ranchers, they're all top side right now. I think they might try to look something on maybe Baron. I don't know. I honestly don't know what they're trying to do right now, being all in topside with only Malphite in the bot lane, and it's really looking like they're trying to go for a Baron play here because Malphite does have TP up, and they know that Panda's TP is up or is about to come up. So I don't know what the look is, but I think they're just trying to fight for the next dragon that's up into 130. They just need to get as big as they can, and I think a mental booster or just a really good fight one can help Ram Ranchers. But it's looking really good in the favors of Sincerity because they have this 5k gold lead. And
we talked a little bit earlier, and I want to get your thoughts on this. So Jinx ends up going with the Kraken Slayer. We talked about the importance of having the Gale Force to be able to avoid the Malphite R, but the Malphite really hasn't been a problem so far in this game.
100%.
Do you think that the Derpy is going to be able to land an ultimate to make Bluebird regret that decision to go with the Kraken Slayer, or do you think that his positioning is going to be able to protect him from that?
I think, I mean, we've seen Derpy. I don't think he's confident in the way he's going to he's gonna be confident in his ults, because you saw he didn't want to pull the trigger on when they had Nocturne almost caught out there, and Malphite
very far up here.
Malphite ult isn't that high of a cooldown, especially when there's no objectives up, so it's fine just to pull the trigger there. So they also have a tank in Alistar that can just constantly, you know,
I don't like how clustered up their backline is with the Malphite.
Yup.
I can see this going. I don't think that they may not even contest this dragon. They may end up just going for this top tier inhibitor. I think they are. I think that Virtue is going to concede it.
Yeah, when you see the Malphite backing right now, and I think they're just trying to keep Ram Ranchers on there, on that dragon. I think they're fine with giving up one drag or even a steal from Noct, and they stole the dragon from Jinx. Oh my god. You have Bluebird coming in. I think, was that the ult steal? I think that was an ult steal. We were in the top lane focusing too much on the inhibitor, but that's fine. They got an inhibitor and they stole dragon. That's the best outcome Sincerity could have looked for.
No lives lost, no major key ultimates or flashes.
Oh my god, you see they're going in right here. The Nocturne ult and the Alistar EQ. They get Warmonks out, and that's just a pick right there. And great fight for Sincerity, but I'm surprised Xin Zhao was able to make it out there alive. He was in the middle of that cluster, and he's still alive
there. Yeah, I mean, Idle there with maybe 1 HP. If Idle goes down, I think it's a for sure Baron, and regardless, it looks like they're going to go for it here anyways. Izzo's pretty low, ends up getting chunked. I think Byzantine really needs to gets the ward down, knows they're on it. I don't think this is safe. I don't think they can do this.
I think they need to back up and get a reset. They got a good one pick off. They're securing top inhibitor and getting a pick off Karma and drag. I think they just hop off it and then look for one more fight and then Baron. Then it could smell really bad for the side of Ram Ranchers.
Like hot dog doo-doo, hot dog doo-doo. I mean, the 7k gold lead, about 6k now on the side of Sincerity. They have now 2 Infernal Dragons on a very high damage backline comp. Even their front line has high damage. I mean, Nizzo on the Nocturne, Band on the Yone, those are high damage champions. So a lot of damage, and I mean, couldn't ask for a better dragon soul to end up being able to stack.
For sure.
End up getting, like you said, an incredible steal by Blue, which unfortunately our expert level producer wasn't able to catch for us, but that's okay. Great play overall by Panda. Ends up using the Herald. I'm not sure who had the Herald, but it was dropped top lane, and Panda did a great job of splitting with it to be able to take the tower, and now he's going to be splitting again. He still has teleport. He never had to use it in that last dragon fight.
True. And Nocturne actually had the rift, and he placed it at the, I think the tier 2 turret for Sincerity, and that's I'm surprised they let that mistake happen, just letting that rift go through, make it all the way to the inhibitor. And now you see they're trying to go for this Baron right here. It's a 4v4, and Yone's TPing. not opting for a TP on a ward, and they kill Sincere.
Oh, Yone's in the back.
Yup, Yone's in the back. I think he's looking for this backline, but I honestly don't know what the look here for Team Sincerity is right now.
They're just trying to soft contest, get some poke in.
Trying to get him off the
they're
Baron.
not. Oh, wow,
that's a missteal from Derpy. And Yone, that's a big that was a okay Yone ult, but it did get him off. They get him off the Baron. They do get the Xin Zhao down and the Malphite down. Even with not that big of a Yone ult coming in from Panda, I still think that's fine. They got it. They kill.
Look at the base, right? If we can get production to move up towards the base right now, up at the Nexus itself is got 2 huge super minions about to crash on. They lost the tower just from the minions themselves. Someone is pinging something I heard in the chat. I assume it means protecting the base, but yeah, it ends up being a little bit unlucky on both sides. I don't think either side played it particularly well, but Dragon's going to be spawning here in a minute, and this is going to be potentially the 3rd Infernal Drag. Either way, put somebody on and Dragon's whole point, either Sincerity or Ram Ranchers.
But it's like, it's as we see here, Sincerity made quite a few mistakes that shouldn't really be happening. You have the Alistar just chilling in the backline of Baron, and then you have Panda TPing on a minion, but I think there were wards around the Baron where he could have TP'd earlier too, and then you just see the 2 deaths coming in from the side of Ram Ranchers, which just evens everything out with Alistar dying and the Nocturne dying. So I think it was just unlucky for both sides, as you said.
Yeah, and the huge missed ultimate by Derpy, which was unfortunate, and then I think Aang and Harry Potter, War Monks, all trying to reposition because of the awkward angling there from Baron. Looks like Derpy's trying to get a little bit of a trade here on Panda. I'm not really sure I understand this because, yes, he does, but ultimately what just happened was they conceded Dragon because they went for a pick onto Panda. I don't know about that by Ram Ranchers.
I agree with you. They did, as you said, get that early Dragon control, but now it's this late game that we have a 3-0 sweep on Dragon's late game right now, and it's looking very scary. It's looking really bad for the side of Ram Ranchers. And they're looking onto this Yone right here, and is it going to pop ult? Going in onto the Xin Zhao, and that's a big Yone ult coming in from Panda, and then an Alistar EQ. Combo, and then the Malphite ult finally landing, but they're just going to keep going. That's an ace on the side of Sincerity.
Sincerity with the 5-0 clean ace. Huge fight between Sincere hitting a huge knock up with his Q. Izzo getting the ultimate off into Panda ultimate. It looks like they're going to get a little bit of a wave here, and they're not even going to mess with the wave. Someone's going to tank. Yeah, and so it looks like that'll end the first game of the series here. I put a game over in the side of Sincerity over Ram Ranchers in game 1 of UJL.
Great game. Great first game, but it's as I said in Champ Select, they matched everything together. They had they all tried to collapse on the Yone, but I mean the Yone just, he's full head of steam. You couldn't really stop him, and then you have Nocturne come in, and then they all just grouped up. Yone ult into I think it was a Victor Cage, and then an Alistar EQ combo, and it's all she wrote for the side of Ram Ranchers.
Yeah, and ultimately that WQ is what ends up being as you said, the nail in the coffin, getting a 3-man knock up there, enabling the rest of his team to follow up. And really that, I think for the most part, was a 3v5, right? I don't even think that Victor and Jinx were able to really get there until the very back end of the fight. So huge carry game by Panda. Excellent job there. And we'll see if this sort of topside dominance ends up being for the strategy that Virtue selects in this second game of this series in this best of 3. But in Benjamin's, I think if we can move into a break time now while we're in between matches, well, it looks like we already have the draft law, so we're going straight into game 2. You said for a break, Benji, or no? All right, we'll move into a break for a little bit, and then we'll get started with the game 2. Stick with us. We'll be right back.